we are saying that individuals that are not present or an inanimate object that is not capable of responding is being addressed. So under apostrophe, we say it implies addressing an individual that is not present or an inanimate object that is not capable of responding. Now let's see some of the examples we have here. Oh, death, where is thy power? Death in this context cannot be seen. We cannot see that person or individual or whatever being is referred to as death. But here we are trying to address death as if he or she is here with us. Death, where is thy power? Dear Lord, please meet my need. We believe in God, we believe in the Lord, but we have not seen him, we cannot see him. So addressing God in such way is an apostrophe, expressing apostrophe, because we cannot see God, but we can address him as if he is within the premises where we are. Paradox. Paradox expresses the facts that appear absurd, unreal, and contradictory on the surface. So when we are expressing facts, but when the fact appears like it is absurd or unreal or even contradictory, it is tagged paradox. We have examples like he who must die must live, or he who must die shall live. If we have it that way, you can see two contrasting words, die and live. We are trying to express fact, that is, if you must achieve something, you must pay for it. Then another thing is, the egg is the father of the cock. The egg is the father of the cock. It is a fact in the sense that it is the egg that comes first before the cock follows. Trying to say it is out of the egg that the cock is made of. So without the egg, there is no cock. But it sounds absurd, it sounds unreal, and somehow contradictory, because you think of the size and then the connection between the egg and the cock. When you think of the connection between the egg and the cock, you discover that it is a fact. But while looking at the two objects, the cock is bigger than the egg, so it will look unreal, it will sound unreal, because the difference is clear between the size of the egg and that of the cock. In oxymoron, two opposing words or contradicting words are placed together. So we have examples like painful pleasure. When you say painful pleasure, painful and pleasure are two opposing words. Something that is pleasurable cannot be painful. Something painful cannot be pleasurable. And so when you put the two together to convey an information, you are expressing oxymoron, because the two concepts are opposing. Other examples are joyful mourning. Mourning should be something that is as a result of a sad event, and joyful is like happiness. When you are happy, you express it through by being joyful. So joyful mourning is an example of oxymoron, because they both oppose each other. Another one is white devil. White devil, we often attribute white to good, to being good, or to godliness. But devil is often attributed to black and other dark colors. So when we put white devil together, white and devil together to form an expression, we are expressing oxymoron, because the two cannot go together. They are two opposing words. So these examples express opposing words that are placed together side by side. You should mark this, that oxymoron has to do with two contradicting words that are placed side by side. There is no word coming in between them. They are placed together. They follow each other in an expression. Irony expresses opinions that are usually different or opposite what they represent in the real sense. So when we talk about irony, it is when we are referring to something in the opposite sense. You are trying to talk about something negative, but you are putting it in a positive manner. Examples like, I love your sandal. When you say I love your sandal and you've seen the sandal to be something bad, you are trying to mock the person by saying that, looking at a standard that is bad already, and you are telling the owner that you love the standards. Indirectly, you are trying to mock the owner that the standards are bad. He will, of course, win the election. He does not need any campaign. When you say that, you are trying to mock the person that the person would not win the election. So when you are saying he does not need to campaign, he will win the election, you are indirectly telling us that the aspirant is unpopular and so cannot win the election. So irony talks about opinions that are usually different or opposite to what they represent in the real sense. So it is an indirect way of negative or positive expressions so that it will mean the opposite in the real sense. Onomatopoeia. This is when the sound of a word dictates or determines its meaning. Examples: the tick-tack of the clock. You discover that when you listen to the movement of the clock, the sound it makes is tick-tack. So the word tick-tack is derived from the sound the hands of the clock make. Ding-dong of a bell. The bell sounds like ding-dong. So the ding-dong is from the sound of a bell. Buzz of a fly. A fly buzzes. Then we have bang, banging on the door or something else. Crunch, crunch, to crunch something in the mouth. The sound it makes is like crunching. Then we have ease, to ease. It is the sound it makes. When you ease, you discover that the sound of easing sounds like the name that is given to it. Then zoom, to zoom off a car, produces that kind of a sound. So onomatopoeia has to do with sounds of words, sound, the way objects and other things sound, and then the name that is given to them. Parable is when brief stories which involves animate and inanimate objects are used to teach moral and religious lessons. We have so many parables in different cultures depending on their beliefs. Examples: the Good Samaritan. The Good Samaritan is an example of a biblical parable. In the Bible, where we have the Good Samaritan that helped an injured traveler. So it is a parable which is derived from the Bible. Then we have the myth of tortoise. This is a cultural parable. Virtually all cultures have the myth of the tortoise being portrayed as a wise and cunning animal. So parable talks about stories, short stories that are meant to teach morals. Is sounds in English language. In English language, there are 44 sounds and they are divided into two. We have the consonant sounds and the vowel sounds. The consonant sounds are 24 in number, while the vowel sounds are 20 in number. The vowel sounds are further divided into two. We have 12 monophthongs and 8 diphthongs. Now let's look at the organs of speech. There are some organs of the body that are responsible for the speech we produce. It starts with the lungs, the lips, the teeth, the palate, the tongue, the oral cavity, nasal cavity, the pharynx. We have the larynx, that is the vocal cord, and some other parts of the body. Now we are going to be considering the consonant sounds first. We have a chart A, which is called the consonant chart. In describing consonant sounds, there are three factors that we consider. We consider the place of articulation, that is, those organs of the body that are responsible for production of each of these sounds. And then we have the manner of articulation. that is, the way and manner at which each of these sounds are produced. And then we have the state of the glottis, whether it is voiced or voiceless. Now let's look at how consonant sounds are described in English language. Under this, we consider the consonant sound in relation to their respective production, their pronunciation and spellings. We are also going to talk about some of the examples of each of these sounds. Consonant sounds that are produced with obstruction of air at the vocal cord during production. We are also going to talk about that. That is, how air is obstructed at the point of production that makes a sound voiced or voiceless. Then we'll be considering the obstruction or closure of air in the vocal cord. We'll consider whether it's partial or total. We'll also consider the distinguishing feature of the place of articulation and manner of articulation, as well as the state of the glottis. Consonant sounds and their places of articulation, that is the first feature we'll be considering. The place of articulation explains where a sound is obstructed in the vocal tract. Such places of articulation include, the first one we'll be talking about is the bilabia. The bilabia has to do with sounds produced with the two lips. Examples include the sound pa, ba, ma, and wa. The second one is alveolar. The alveolar has to do with sounds that are produced when the tip of the tongue is touching the roof of the mouth, immediately behind the upper teeth.